The terrifying prophecy of 2025 from a famous prophet, Unsolved Mysteries. Throughout history, voices from the shadows have whispered warning cryptic messages, eerie predictions, and visions of a world forever changed. From ancient scrolls to hidden manuscripts, humanity has always been fascinated by prophecies. But among them, one prophecy stands out, not just because of what it predicts, but when. The year 2025, shared by a mysterious yet renowned prophet whose words have puzzled scholars for decades. This prophecy doesn't speak of minor events, it hints at global upheaval, political chaos, environmental disasters, and a spiritual reckoning that could shake the very foundation of our world. So, what exactly does this unsolved mystery say about the year just ahead of us? And more importantly, how close are we to seeing it unfold? Welcome to the journey of wisdom. Buckle up as we dive deep into one of the most chilling predictions for 2025. And remember, those who seek truth walk a different path. So if you find meaning here, don't forget to like and subscribe before the truth is revealed. Number 1. Nostradamus predictions came true. For centuries, the mysterious verses of Nostradamus have fascinated and unsettled those seeking meaning in chaos. And as we step deeper into the complexities of 2025, his shadow seems longer than ever. Often dismissed as nothing more than a poet from a superstitious era, Nostradamus has nonetheless surprised historians, skeptics, and believers alike with predictions that eerily mirror major world events. One of the earliest and most famous examples lies in his reference to a city that would burn in 66 and a queen who would fall from her throne. In 1666, over 100 years after he penned the verse, a devastating fire broke out in a small London bakery, eventually reducing 3/4 of the city to ash. The queen at the time, though not literally dethroned, experienced a symbolic shaking of royal power as the catastrophe pushed the nation into a period of upheaval and reconstruction. This historical coincidence is just one thread in a pattern that stretches across centuries, challenging our view of randomness and foresight. Moving into the 20th century, a time we often view as an age of reason and scientific progress, the haunting relevance of Nostradamus's writings re-emerged. Among the many quatrains debated by scholars, one in particular spoke of 2 eagles locked in battle, blood staining the sky, which many interpret as a reference to the 2 world wars. The symbol of the eagle, notably used by both Nazi Germany and the United States, adds to the unsettling accuracy. As the horrors of World War II unfolded, the name Adolf Hitler emerged as a possible candidate for the Second Antichrist. Nostradamus had described in earlier texts a man whose influence would bring death, destruction, and a shift in global power. These connections are not definitive proof, but they continue to fuel fascination and fear, especially in times of global tension and uncertainty. Perhaps what makes these prophecies most unnerving is how they persist into the modern age, even as humanity embraces artificial intelligence, space exploration, and digital revolutions. When Queen Elizabeth II passed away in 2022 at the age of 96, it reignited interest in a passage from Mario Redding's 2006 book, Nostradamus, The Complete Prophecies for the Future, which stated, years in advance, that the Queen would die around that age and time. Though skeptics argue this could be a lucky guess, the precision is enough to rattle even the most rational minds. Within days of her death, the book's sales surged, as if people needed to believe there was some order behind the events that shape our lives. Now, in 2025, many turn to the next set of predictions, some of which speak cryptically about social collapse, climatic turmoil, and the rise of powerful leaders with global influence. Whether these forecasts hold truth or are merely reflections of timeless human fears, they touch on something deeply rooted in our collective psyche, the desire to understand what lies ahead. In a world overwhelmed by climate change, political division, and rapid technological shifts, it's not surprising that people seek guidance in ancient words. But perhaps the most useful takeaway isn't to fear the future, but to reflect on how history seems to echo itself and to ask ourselves what role we play in that cycle. Instead of waiting for prophecy to unfold, we can choose to act with compassion, wisdom, and awareness today. Because even if Nostradamus did see glimpses of what's to come, the path we take through 2025 and beyond is still ours to walk mindfully, together, and with a willingness to build a more peaceful future. Number 2. Prophecies about the year 2025. 1. Rising threat of global war. Throughout human history, the fear of global war has always lingered like a dark cloud on the horizon, and no matter how much time passes, its echoes continue to haunt us. The wounds left by the 20th century's world wars have never fully healed, and now, according to the chilling prophecies of Nostradamus, the world may once again be inching toward a devastating confrontation, this time rising quietly but powerfully from the east. In one of his cryptic quatrains, the French prophet wrote of a moment when "the red enemy shall grow pale with fear as the ocean roars like thunder." While poetic, this vision has stirred the curiosity of modern scholars who suggest that the red enemy might symbolize China, a nation that has long embraced red as a cultural and political identity, and which today is emerging not just as an economic force, but as a rising military giant with bold territorial ambitions. As we look to today's headlines, this prophecy begins to feel less like mystery and more like a mirror. Tensions in the South China Sea and the Taiwan Strait are escalating, not just with words but with warships and missiles. China's military maneuvers in disputed waters have become more frequent, more daring, and more confrontational. These are not distant tremors, but direct challenges to the global balance of power. Western nations, especially the United States, are becoming increasingly involved, leading joint military exercises, making diplomatic declarations, and quietly preparing for what could become the unthinkable. Through the lens of prophecy, this alignment of actions feels like history rising again, but this time with more firepower, more stakes, and a far more interconnected world. And here's where we must pause, not in fear, but in reflection. Because while prophecy can point to patterns, it's our choices, our pride, our policies, our unwillingness to listen that ultimately fan the flames. Nostradamus didn't name the war as World War I-II, but he painted a picture of a world brought low by blood and fire, a war that crosses oceans and bends nations to its will. This image is uncomfortably close to what we see today, delicate world stage where one misstep, one wrong move, could set off a chain reaction of destruction. The Bible, too, warns us of such a time. In the book of Revelation, the rider on the red horse is unleashed to take peace from the earth and make people slay one another, a symbol not just of warfare, but of humanity's inner collapse. Revelation 6, verse 4. It's a stark reminder that physical conflict is often preceded by moral decay, when justice fades and power becomes a god. Some theologians suggest that all of this may be more than coincidence. To them, the patterns forming today echo the ancient script of the end times, when truth is drowned by deception and the world becomes unrecognizable under the weight of evil rising. Whether or not one subscribes to such interpretations, the call to awareness remains the same. We are living in an age where the pace of change is faster than wisdom can sometimes keep up with, and where one leader's pride or one nation's ambition could undo centuries of human progress. Psalm 20, verse 1, offers a profound comfort in such a time. May the Lord answer you in the day of trouble. May the name of the God of Jacob protect you. In a world threatened by chaos, that verse becomes not just a prayer, but a posture of faith and resilience. So, what should we do? How do we live in a world where ancient prophecies feel like today's news reports? The answer is both spiritual and practical. On a spiritual level, we must stay grounded in values that uplift humanity, truth, humility, unity, and compassion. On a practical level, we must become informed, wise stewards of peace in our homes, our communities, and our choices. Your voice of reason, your strength tempered by wisdom, your courage to speak for peace can ripple far beyond what you may realize. The terrifying prophecy is not just about doom, it's a wake-up call to build something stronger before it's too late. A call not to fear the thunder, but to prepare our souls and guide our lives with purpose, because history is still being written and we are the ink. 2. The Third Antichrist. Across all major spiritual traditions, there's always been this lingering fear of a force so dark, so manipulative, that it threatens the very fabric of humanity's soul. In Christianity, this presence is known as the Antichrist, a name that has echoed with dread through centuries. And now, as we look at our world today marked by conflict, confusion, moral erosion, and a rising sense of hopelessness, are beginning to wonder if we're inching ever closer to that terrifying prophecy coming true, the one spoken by the legendary prophet Nostradamus over 500 years ago. His words weren't vague, whispers lost to time. They were chillingly specific in pattern, yet cryptic enough to keep generations guessing. Nostradamus didn't just warn us once, he warned us 3 times. In his mysterious quatrains, he described 3 antichrists. Historians and scholars have long agreed that the first 2 were none other than Napoleon and Hitler, men whose rise to power drenched the world in war, fear, and unimaginable suffering. But Nostradamus didn't stop there. He spoke of a third, a final one. A figure more dangerous than the first 2, a leader cloaked in charm, driven by power, and destined to bring about global devastation like nothing the world has ever known. Who is this third Antichrist? The prophecies never name him outright, and that might be the most unnerving part. Instead, they offer traits: a brilliant orator, wealthy beyond reason, intellectually sharp, and magnetically persuasive. This is someone who can bend the truth with ease, someone who doesn't take power but is given it, celebrated, even worshipped by those who can't see through the facade. And as we watch modern-day politics and world events unfold, it's hard not to look around and wonder, could someone already be rising in plain sight? Is the world being slowly lulled into a false sense of security, unaware that the very person they admire might be the one leading them astray? Yet maybe we're asking the wrong question. Instead of, who is he? Perhaps we should be asking, will we recognize him when he comes? Because the true danger isn't just in the presence of evil, it's in our blindness to it. It's in how easily we trade truth for comfort and integrity for influence. This should cause all of us to pause and reflect. Have we grown so desensitized to darkness that we no longer notice when it's standing right before us? What are the signs we might be ignoring, not just in the headlines, but in our own hearts? We live in a time where deception wears the mask of progress, and evil often hides behind a polished smile. It's up to each of us to sharpen our discernment, to ground ourselves in truth, and to ask the tough questions even when it's uncomfortable. If Nostradamus was right, then we must not simply wait for prophecy to unfold, we must prepare. That doesn't mean living in fear, but rather living with awareness. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 verse 3 says, "Let no one deceive you in any way, for that day will not come unless the rebellion comes first, and the man of lawlessness is revealed, The man of lawlessness may not appear with horns or fire, but with words that soothe, promises that entice, and policies that enslave the spirit. The battle may not be fought with swords, but with truth versus deception. So what can we learn from this? First, we must remember that evil often begins with what looks good. Stay awake, stay grounded. Don't be swayed by popularity or charisma alone. Ask yourself, does this person or path bring light, or does it subtly lead you away from it? And most of all, trust that even in the darkest prophecy, there is always a glimmer of redemption for those who choose to see, for those who choose to seek truth. What are you doing today to strengthen your spiritual awareness? Are you ready to stand firm when the truth is hidden beneath lies? The answers may shape not just your future, but the world's. If you've watched this far, you're already diving deep into the mysteries that could shape our world in 2025. Comment below with 2025 Awakening to show you're ready to face the unknown and seek the truth. Don't go anywhere, there's still more to uncover in this chilling prophecy. Stay until the end to connect the clues and decide for yourself what the future might hold. 3. Environmental catastrophe and earthquakes. Imagine, just for a moment, waking up one morning and realizing that the world as we know it is beginning to shift beneath our feet, literally and figuratively. That's the kind of chilling scenario we're diving into now as we explore the mysterious and unsettling prophecy linked to the year 2025, drawn from the writings of one of history's most famous seers, Nostradamus. Now, before you roll your eyes or think this is just another doomsday tale, I want you to pause and consider this. What if ancient warnings, written centuries ago, are now beginning to mirror what we see on the news every day? Nostradamus warned that a time would come when a great wave bringing famine and death shall sweep across the shore. When you hear those words, what images come to mind? For many, it's no longer just poetic language. In real time, we're witnessing how rising sea levels are swallowing coastlines, how entire farming regions are becoming barren wastelands, and how extreme weather from record-breaking floods to devastating droughts is threatening the global food supply. Think about it. How many stories have you read or heard lately about crops failing in Africa, or how food prices in your own neighborhood are steadily climbing? These aren't random events. They seem to echo something deeper, something ancient, maybe even prophetic. When I first read about this part of the prophecy, I felt a shiver go down my spine. Why? Because the suffering it describes is no longer hypothetical. In Ethiopia, for instance, farmers are collapsing in their fields under a burning sun, their land parched and cracked beyond repair. Thousands of miles away in Florida, families have been forced to leave their homes not because of war or conflict, but because the sea has risen up and invaded their lives. The ocean, once a source of peace and beauty, has become a creeping force of destruction. And here's a question for you. If we've known for years that climate change is real and dangerous, why do we still ignore its warnings until it's too late? Could it be that prophecy, science, and faith are not as far apart as we think? But it doesn't stop with the weather. Nostradamus also spoke of a colossal earthquake that would cause devastation on an unimaginable scale. And sure enough, on the 13th of April, Myanmar was rocked by a massive earthquake that left destruction in its wake. Coincidence? Or are we starting to see the pieces of an old puzzle come together? And here's where things get even more interesting. Another well-known mystic, Baba Vanga, also hinted at major upheavals in 2025. When different voices from different eras all point to the same moment in time, don't you think it's worth paying attention? So, where do we go from here? As we stand at the edge of these prophecies, it's easy to feel overwhelmed or even afraid, but remember, fear doesn't have to be the end of the story. Sometimes, fear is the beginning of awareness, and awareness can lead to action. This isn't just about doom and gloom, it's about waking up. It's about realizing that nature isn't our enemy, but it is speaking to us. And maybe, just maybe, it's trying to get our attention before it's too late. And if you're wondering what role faith plays in all this, let me share another passage that always brings me peace. Romans 8 verse 22 says, "We know that the whole creation has been groaning as in the pains of childbirth right up to the present time." Isn't that powerful? It tells us that the earth itself is trying to give birth to something new, something better, but the process is painful and we're all part of it. So I'll ask you this: are we listening? Are we willing to change not just our habits but our hearts? Because prophecy, at its core, isn't about predicting the future, it's about preparing us for it. And that preparation starts now. 4. Economic collapse and Eastern power shift. In the chilling echoes of Baba Vanga's prophecy, the year 2025 emerges as a pivotal moment in human history, marked by an economic collapse so vast that it shakes the very foundation of global stability. Her visions, long recorded and debated, speak not just of financial downturns, but of a world transformed by the weight of accumulated debt and the irreversible consequences of ignoring economic warnings. As economies continue to teeter on fragile ground, burdened by inflation, rising interest rates, and unsustainable national debts, we are already seeing the signs of strain that could lead to a dramatic turning point. Her foresight of a power shift from the long-dominant West to the rising East feels increasingly relevant as countries like China and India strengthen their influence through technological advancement, energy independence, and global diplomacy, while Western nations struggle to maintain economic leadership amidst internal divisions and external pressures. In a time when stock markets are volatile and trust in traditional institutions is waning, Baba Vanga's vision challenges us to consider a new global order where financial dominance is no longer the ultimate force shaping nations. Instead, cultural identity, technological resilience, and strategic alliances may become the true currencies of the future. This isn't just prophecy, it's a mirror to our current reality, where headlines daily echo tremors of financial instability and rising global tension. Think about the conflict in Ukraine, ongoing trade disputes between superpowers, and the digital disruption of financial systems. All these elements align eerily with Baba Vanga's warning, underscoring how interconnected our world has become and how vulnerable it remains. But her vision also holds a deeper message, that in the face of breakdown, we must find breakthroughs. In our personal lives, this could mean reassessing our own financial habits, cutting down on debt, investing in long-term stability, and learning skills that make us adaptable in uncertain economic times. As individuals, we may not be able to stop global forces, but we can prepare ourselves spiritually and practically to face what comes with resilience and hope. Now more than ever, we are being called to awaken from complacency, to seek truth beyond comfort, and to recognize that what once seemed like distant prophecy is now knocking at the door of today's world. Let this not scare us, but stir us to act wisely, to live with awareness, and to remember that even in the darkest predictions, there is light to be found in preparation, unity, and faith. 5. Medical and technological breakthroughs. Let's talk about something that brings a different kind of energy into the conversation around 2025 hope. While many predictions and prophecies for the future can sound terrifying or overwhelming, there's another side that often gets overlooked. Among the many visions of the well-known mystic Baba Vanga, one stood out like a small light flickering through the shadows, a breakthrough in medicine that could change the course of human suffering. According to her, A revolutionary treatment would emerge for diseases that have long haunted humanity like cancer and Alzheimer's. These are illnesses that not only take lives, but often take away the dignity and memories of those we love. For many, this part of her prophecy offers something profound, not just relief, but a real reason to hope. And here's where things get even more interesting. In recent years, reports have surfaced that Russia has made significant progress in developing a vaccine for cancer, a concept that once seemed like science fiction. Could this be what Baba Vanga foresaw decades ago? It's a question that doesn't just invite speculation, it invites reflection on the power of human effort, the potential of science, and the mystery of life itself. Now, let's go one step deeper. Baba Vanga didn't only speak of medical progress, she also hinted at an explosion in technological evolution, something that many of us are witnessing right now. She spoke of artificial intelligence and quantum computing, technologies that have already begun to redefine how we work, communicate, and even think. AI, in particular, is becoming a presence in everyday life, from voice assistants in our phones to algorithms that help doctors detect diseases faster and more accurately. Quantum computing, while still in its early stages, holds the promise to process information at speeds we can barely imagine today. The question we're left with is this: if such powerful tools are in our hands, how will we choose to use them? Will we use them to heal, to connect, to uplift each other, or to divide and control? The future isn't just something we walk into, it's something we shape by the decisions we make today. So, while the year 2025 has been surrounded by prophecies filled with fear, it's important to hold on to the parts that inspire us to become better. In the middle of uncertainty, Baba Vanga's vision reminds us that humanity still has the power to innovate, to discover, and to care. You may wonder, what can you do in the face of such large forces, such sweeping changes? Start by asking yourself, what part can I play in healing, in learning, in building something better? Sometimes, change doesn't begin in a lab or a government office. It begins in the quiet moments when someone chooses compassion over indifference, curiosity over fear, or action over apathy. Here's the deeper message. Even in the face of great uncertainty, we are not powerless. The potential to do good exists alongside the power of technology and medical science. What we do with that potential is what truly defines the future. Let this be your takeaway. The future may hold mysteries we can't predict, but the values we choose today will light our way through whatever comes. So, what kind of future are you helping to create? 6. Royal turmoil. British monarchy. The question, once considered far-fetched, whether King Charles III might be forced to relinquish the throne, has now gained new weight in the eyes of many, especially in light of recent developments surrounding his health and the re-emergence of an age-old prophecy. Nostradamus, the enigmatic 16th-century seer whose cryptic verses have fascinated generations, alluded to a royal shake-up that could upend centuries of tradition within the British monarchy. His words, "The King of the Isles shall be cast down by an outside force. The successor shall be one who bears no mark of kingship," might once have been dismissed as poetic ambiguity, but in the climate of 2025, they feel unsettlingly relevant. With King Charles III confirmed in early 2024 to be undergoing treatment for cancer, the United Kingdom was thrust into a state of both concern and speculation. The news shook the nation, not only because of the human vulnerability of a monarch, but because of what it could mean for the line of succession. Would Crown Prince William take the reins, as tradition and expectation dictate? Or might history take a turn few would have dared to predict? Adding fuel to this fire of uncertainty is the interpretation of author Mario Reading, who garnered attention for having accurately predicted Queen Elizabeth II's death at age 96. In his analysis of Nostradamus's work, He suggests that the line, "one who bears no mark of kingship," may refer to none other than Prince Harry, a figure who, ironically, stepped away from the very system he now might be called back to. Prince Harry's decision to withdraw from royal duties and move to the United States, distancing himself from the crown's formalities, effectively removed him from the public's perception of succession. Yet, it is precisely that removal, the shedding of titles, the turning away from royal life, that could fulfill the prophecy. In this context, Harry becomes the one without the mark, and thus, paradoxically, the one destined to inherit. It's a theory that blurs the boundaries between traditional logic and prophetic possibility, reminding us how unpredictable human stories can be, especially when woven with the threads of legacy, power, and fate. The monarchy has always been a pillar of continuity for Britain, but it's not immune to turbulence. Criticisms of King Charles and Queen Consort Camilla have persisted in public discourse, and while they may not dominate headlines daily, they remain embedded in the collective consciousness. Should the king's health deteriorate further, and should unforeseen circumstances prevent William from ascending for reasons political, personal, or otherwise, the door to a shocking turn of events may creak open. In such moments, ancient prophecies no longer feel like forgotten whispers of the past. They start to echo loudly through the corridors of power, questioning what once seemed untouchable. For the modern audience living through 2025, this narrative serves not only as a curiosity, but also as a quiet mirror. It reflects the fragility of power and the illusion of permanence. No system, be it monarchy, government, or social order, rise beyond change. And within this uncertainty lies a profound Buddhist insight. Impermanence is the only constant. Whether in royal halls or in our own homes, attachments to structure and predictability often give us a false sense of control. What can we take from this story? Perhaps, rather than fearing change, we might do better to prepare our hearts and minds for it. To live with awareness, to adapt with grace, and to act with compassion, these are the virtues that outlast any prophecy. The unfolding of destiny may always remain beyond our grasp, but how we respond to it defines who we are. As we've explored today, the prophecies for 2025, whether viewed as warnings, mirrors of our current world, or spiritual lessons, remind us that the future is not written in stone. It is shaped by our awareness, our actions, and our willingness to learn from the past. Whether or not these predictions come true, they urge us to live more mindfully, to stay grounded in compassion, and to face uncertainty with courage. If this video gave you something to reflect on, or opened your eyes to a new perspective, we invite you to support our journey. Please like, share, and subscribe to The Journey of Wisdom, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you won't miss our upcoming explorations into ancient mysteries and timeless truths. Thank you for walking this path with us. Until next time, stay curious, stay conscious, and stay kind.